Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I just wanted to spend a few minutes talking about some of the things we experienced today. I think as a senior, if we can share anything that we get any pleasure out of with other people, it gives us a chance to share knowledge and also learn from others. Because every time somebody tells us something, we have a response if we want to give it some thought and or just listen and delete it or whatever we please. We had a meeting of retired government employees today at one of the local hotels, and it was a great gathering. We used to have those once a month before COVID hit, but now we're having it at a less frequent time. But it was a great thing because people get together that are similar ages, and we get a chance to see people. Some of them we worked with, and we get a chance to analyze and see what kind of condition they're in versus our own age and condition. And it's amazing to see how many people have had major surgery and they're doing just fine. So that's a positive statement in itself there, where we find somebody has gone through a major surgery and they are healed up and doing fine. So that's a motivational tool right there. We had a guest speaker today who came down from a local library and told us, a lady, a good speaker, she told us about all the things they have at the library. They have all kinds of books, so heck wouldn't have, and also some tools for teaching about computers and how to convert videos from slides and other types of film to a digital format so they can be put on CDs or DVDs or zip drives and sent around the world or put up on internet sites and shared. Very interesting talk. And when I listened to the talk, I looked around the room and I thought, oh my goodness, we've got all these people around here. Most of them are management types. They've worked as managers and various jobs throughout the operation. Some of them were with forestry, and some of them were with highways, and some are with nursing and all kinds of government operation sections. But each one of the people in the room now, sometimes we forget that each one of those persons who has been operating in a management position has a computer on their shoulders. It's their own personal computer. And it's got a wealth of storage of information of the jobs that they've done over the years and the experiences they've had teaching, whether they were teaching driving or whether they were teaching air brakes or whether they were teaching how to plant forests, how to plant trees and how to harvest trees. It doesn't matter whether they were a firefighter or they've got all these skills. And we're a walking library. When we look around amongst the people we sit with, we are a total library of people. So life is a one-time shot. So we have a one chance to preserve what we did in the past. Now, you might think to myself, nobody wants to see that. But you'd be surprised when you hear a story from somebody who's done a job and he's got some pictures and you can identify with what they're talking about. It becomes an interesting session to sit and listen to. Probably more so than reading a book. Reading a book, if your eyes are really good, you're fine. But when you hear the person talking, you have really a sense for the audio sound of the ears. Your ears absorb the audio sound, and you also have an opportunity to ask questions. So your learning is increased by 200% there, because you can go back and get clarification. Or the other thing you can do is you can meet with the person afterwards and talk to them. And it reminded me of a session that they did in Dawson Creek. It was about 10 years ago. They got money from the federal government, and they went around and interviewed all the pioneers of the community. So some of those people were up in their 90s, and some of those people were in there before the roads were built. We had some neighbors in there that were there. They used to live in tents and used to hunt and fish and all kinds of stuff. And go up and down the Peace River in boats and canoes, and it was the early days before the roads were built. And then the building of the Alaska Highway happened. That opened up the whole of central BC and Alberta and the United States to Alaska. So I guess what I'm saying that everybody who has a bunch of knowledge stored up in the old cranium, it doesn't matter whether it's knitting or whether it's fishing or whether it's building a house or whatever you have experience in, or maybe it's to do with teaching children, maybe a new task. Maybe you've got some procedure that somebody else hasn't addressed yet. And we find the same thing with musicians. Like anybody who is a talented musician, it's a darn shame if they go to their grave and take all that knowledge with them. Now we've been able to capture some over the years, and a lot of these people that are in the musical field have been doing that for like 60 to 70 years, and they have some skills that probably will not be improved upon because they've hit the top of their class. So I'm just going to say one more time, it behooves us as seniors, rather than sitting around into either a motel or sitting around into a apartment and watching TV and letting our muscles deteriorate, it's more productive for us to share that information, whether we put it on a video or whether we go to meetings and talk to seniors. But what a lovely way to leave some of that information for other people, because there's a lot of young people out there that I'm sure would be happy to hear what we have to say. Doesn't matter what the subject is. They're always looking for guest speakers at the schools. I had an interesting talk with a young lady from the UK. She just came over to Canada, and she's actually got herself a job teaching in the Okanagan. She's she teaches business skills and all kinds of things like that. And she does quite a bit of it on the internet. And she's left, she came from the UK, traveled all the way to Canada because she's so interested in seeing the Canadian way of life. And she's chosen Kelowna as a place to make her center. So she's going to be have a home center out of there. But she does a lot of stuff on the internet. She actually teaches course on the internet. I can't remember what she taught, but she's teaching courses on the internet. It's probably business administration, a lot of that going on. And we talked for about an hour at the park. I met her walking up the parkway there, so I said hello to her. And I know she had an accent right away, and I asked her if she wanted to talk a little bit about some of the pictures we have of the highway system in the Kootenays, and also about music. So we had a great chat for almost 2 hours, sitting on a bench there talking away. And the one thing she said to me that almost tied in with the meeting today that we had, she said, "If you had one thing to tell me, just one thing only, what would it be?" I said, "How do you mean?" She says, "If there's one thing that you could tell me that I could take with me as a bit of knowledge, it doesn't matter what the subject is, what would it be?" Boy, that shook me up. I just sat for about 5 minutes and I toyed with the idea, and I said, "Well, the thing that I find most of, they don't teach it in schools, is the fact that kids children go to school and they graduate, but there's no course out there that teaches them about retirement." Now, being retired now since 1986, since 2004, and has helped me understand how lucky I am. Now, with the government, they have this mandatory retirement plan, and they had it in 1959 when I started. And they would come to you and say, "We're going to make out your payroll record here, and your rate is going to be so much." And they said, in my case, it was $15.36 an hour. Pardon me, $15.36 a day, which was less than $2 an hour. At that particular time, it was pretty good because the money was worth more. And then the other question they ask you is, what about your retirement? So you're talking to a 20-year-old person, and I said, well, tell me about retirement. I don't even know what you're talking about. Well, she said, this is the time when you're finished work and you don't want to work anymore and you just want to enjoy. She said, our program, it works like this. And she said that in 6 months, we're going to dig into your paycheck and we're going to take 6% of every dollar you make and we're going to put into a retirement program with your name on it. And it's going to stay there for your full length of employment. In my case, it wound up being 35 years. So I asked her, I said, well, how much money can you take? Because I wasn't even hardly thinking about it. And she said, well, we can take 10%. So that means for every $100, $10 of that would be put aside into the retirement program. So I did the math real quickly in my head, and I said, well, for me, that's about 2 cases of beer a month less. If you enjoy beer, we were paying $2.54 for a box of beer then. And she said, are you sure? That's quite a bit of money. I said, well, look, I've just done the math, and I'm renting a house for $45 a month, and my costs will easily let me do that. So now looking back at the big picture, I paid 35 years into a retirement program, at 10% of my salary. Now I can tell you one thing: if I didn't have that, it would be very difficult because the old age pension and the Canada pension now, top end sometimes is about $1,700, and most apartments are high end ones are about $1,200 to $1,400 a month. And you've got your phone and your heat and your lights, and also your television and your computer. If you're on a computer, you have the internet connection. So I'm very thankful that I've got that program going. Now, if they were to teach that in school, if that became a school project where each kid who went to school or each child who got grade 12 got educated in that and learned about the importance of it, and tell them that, you don't want to work all your life. You probably want to retire maybe at 60, 55, 60, 65. And having that retirement saving there will allow you to travel around the world if you please, travel by automobile or by a motorhome, or fly around and enjoy yourself before you pass away. Now, some of the people from the older school, I've heard some guys say, well, hey, you're just wasting money on gasoline to travel around. And I'd say, no, we want to see the world. We want to see the trees, we want to see the ocean, we want to see the lakes, and we want to see what the people on the other side of the world live like. Now, we didn't do any overseas travel, but we did lots of stuff in the United States, Nashville and Branson, Missouri, and places like that. And went to a lot of country music shows. So I'm very thankful to have been able to do that. And the other thing is to make sure that you do the traveling. If you retire early enough and you both travel and you both retire, you do that before you get aged out. Now, a lot of people, once they get to be 70 and 80 years old, they can't even walk anymore. And sitting around watching television lets your muscles deteriorate and the strength of your muscles go down and you lose your balance. And if there are some people who can't walk, it's a physical disability, that's a different story. But if you can walk, it's a good thing to walk, and walk as much as you can, because it keeps your muscles strong, keeps you stable, prevents you from falling, keeps your balance, keeps your blood circulating, and keeps the oxygen going to your brain. And it's a wonderful thing to do. And while you're walking, you meet people from other countries. So I just want to put a plug in there for retirement. Should be taught in schools. Very important. Because what happens if you don't have a mandatory retirement program, you go all the way through life and you're buying all the toys and the toys and the toys, and the toys, in some cases, have a lower value to them than your retirement program. Maybe we could do with a cheaper computer. or maybe one less cell phone, and have a retirement program in place of that. So I want you to think about that and think about the fact that how much knowledge we carry around with us that we can share with people. Now, sharing can be done on the internet, do it like we're doing now, or we can go to meetings and play cards and share and talk to one another and show the hobbies we do, and or write it down in a book, write it down or put it down on a CD or a DVD and share it with people. But life is a one-time shot where you get a one-time shot of living. So any knowledge that we have that we can share with people is a plus for us because it keeps our mind active and it also gives knowledge to other people free. So we're actually a walking computer. I think it's great, and it also encourages people to talk to one another. So we meet new people, and we exercise our skills, and we keep the system going, and we keep the knowledge from fading. A lot of the seniors have been around for years and years. They have lots of information about the country and how the road system were built and transportation systems and communication systems. And now is the time to capitalize on that. So have yourself a great evening, and we are looking for a better and a more exciting day tomorrow. Good night.